Spider-Man Far From Home stars Tom Holland, Jake Gyllenhaal, Jon Favreau, Samuel L. Jackson, Marisa Tomei, Jacob Batalon and Zendaya. Cinematography is by Matthew J. Lloyd and music is by Michael Giacchino. The movie is written by Chris McKenna and Eric Summers, based on the comic characters created by Stan Lee and Steve Ditko. The movie was directed by Jon Watts, the man who directed Clown, Cop Car and Spider-Man Homecoming. What's the story? Nick Fury, played by Samuel L. Jackson, and Agent Maria Hill, played by Kobe Smulders, arrive at the remains of a small town in Mexico. They are investigating reports that the cyclone that devastated the small town had a face. Suddenly, Quentin Beck, aka Mysterio, played by Jake Gyllenhaal, appears. He is a superhero with a cape and a goldfish bowl on his head. Mysterio does battle with a rock monster. Over at Midtown High, Betty Brandt, played by Angourie Rice, and her school news co-anchor, Jason, played by George Lendaball Jr., get us up to date with what's been going on since everyone was wiped out by Thanos in Infinity War. After a period of 5 years, the people that were previously wiped out came back, and this was called the Blip. We also learn that the return people are the same age as when they left, but everyone else is 5 years older. Peter Parker, aka Spider-Man, played by Tom Holland, meets up with his best friend Ned Leeds, played by Jacob Batalon, and confides in him the revelation that he has the hots for MJ. There is a school trip to Europe coming up, and Peter has an extravagant scenario for romancing MJ that concludes at the top of the Eiffel Tower. As they are speaking, MJ, played by Zendaya, briefly comes over to say hi, but Peter acts awkwardly, as he usually does around girls. Later that evening, May Parker, played by Marisa Tomei, gives a speech at a fundraiser for people displaced by the Blip. By her side is Spider-Man, who is there to say hi and sign autographs, etc. Happy Hogan, played by Jon Favreau, turns up with a generous donation cheque for May's campaign. It's clear straight away that Happy has designs on May, and Peter doesn't quite know what to think about this. Happy tells Peter that Nick Fury is going to call him, which he does, but it seems that Peter isn't quite ready to go and save the world again, and so he sends Fury to voicemail. When taking questions from the crowd later, Peter is asked what it's like to take over from Tony Stark. This question unnerves Peter, and so he leaves the fundraiser. The next day, Peter gets on a plane to Europe. On the trip are two teachers, Mr. Harrington, played by Martin Starr, and Mr. Bell, played by J.B. Smoove. The students include Peter, Ned, MJ, Betty, Flash Thompson, played by Tony Revolori, and Brad Davis, played by Remy Hill. Peter asks for Ned's help in switching seats so that he can sit next to MJ. But this does not go to plan, and he ends up sitting next to Mr. Harrington instead. To make matters worse, Brad sits next to MJ, and it looks like Peter has competition for her affections. Things go well for Ned, however, because he gets to sit next to Betty. By the end of the flight, they are a couple. The first stop on the tour is Venice. After some sightseeing, Peter goes off to buy MJ a necklace. However, Peter seems to have competition from Brad for MJ's affections, because Brad keeps hanging around her. But there are other things happening in Venice. A water monster emerges from the canal and starts to wreck random buildings. Peter wants to do something, but he doesn't have a suit to wear. Luckily, Mysterio appears and shoots at the water monster with green energy beams. Peter slips on a carnival mask and uses his webbing to stop buildings falling onto people. Mysterio eventually defeats the water monster, and he takes all the credit because Peter's actions are not seen. Back at the hotel, the students watch the TV news on the water monster. They name the mystery superhero Mysterio, and Flash comes out to admit that he really respects Spider-Man. This cheers Peter up. Back in Peter and Ned's room, Fury turns up and knocks out Ned with a dart gun. Fury takes Peter to his secret base under Venice. Along the way, Fury gives Peter a pair of glasses that Tony Stark left for him. Mysterio is waiting for them at the base. He explains that he is from a different version of Earth and he is chasing after the monsters called Elementals that destroyed his world. The last remaining elemental, Fire, will turn up in Prague in 48 hours. To give Peter an excuse to be there, Fury upgrades the students' vacation and sends them to Prague. On the coach trip, Peter tries on Tony's glasses. As expected, they hook into all telecommunications networks and start satellites. The AI controlling everything is called Edith, voiced by Dawn Michelle King. When the coach pulls into a stop, Peter is given a new black suit by the seamstress, played by supermodel Toni Garn. Brad walks in on them and takes a picture of Peter undressing. Brad now has the evidence he needs to ruin Peter's chances with MJ. On the coach again, Peter asks Edith to target Brad, because those are the exact words you want to use when talking to an AI in charge of killer drones, when all you actually want to do is delete pictures from their phone. Edith dispatches a killer drone to kill Brad, and Peter nearly kills everyone on the coach by causing it to swerve on a high mountain road to avoid the drone. Peter then destroys the drone by jumping out of the coach and using his web shooters, which no one on the coach sees. Later, the photo Brad took is deleted. When in Prague, Peter meets up with Fury and Mysterio again. Fury tells Peter off for using Edith to nearly blow up his school coach, but Mysterio is more friendly. In an attempt to keep Peter's friends off the streets and away from the fire monster, Fury organises the students to go to the opera. But, of course, Peter can't stay for the show, and as soon as it starts, MJ, Betty and Ned also leave. As predicted, the fire monster arrives. Mysterio and Spider-Man, in his black suit, team up to fight the fire monster. Peter also has to save Betty and Ned, who just so happened to be the only people on the Ferris wheel who didn't flee when the chaos started. The fire monster is eventually defeated when Mysterio makes a last-ditch effort that seems to be suicidal, yet it doesn't kill him. Watching the battle from the shadows is MJ. She picks up a broken piece of tech that is covered in webbing. Fury thanks Mysterio for his help and invites him to an Interpol meeting at Berlin the next day. Fury is less gracious to Peter, advising him to choose whether or not he wants to step up and become a full-time Avenger. Mysterio takes Peter to a bar for a drink and a chat. During this conversation, the topic moves on to the burden of following Tony Stark. Peter then gets the idea that he should pass on his Edith glasses to Mysterio because he will be more responsible with them. Peter leaves happy, but everything is not what it seems. It appears that Mysterio is a fake, and so are the elementals. Everything we have seen so far has been a holographic projection, and the very real destruction that has been caused was caused by drones identical to the ones that Edith uses. Mysterio is the leader of a bunch of tech support guys that used to work for Tony Stark. For various reasons, they have been seeking control of Edith, and now they finally have it. Peter gets back to his hotel, and he asks to go out for a walk with MJ. During the walk, MJ tells Peter that she has figured out that he is Spider-Man. While Peter denies this, MJ produces a piece of tech covered in webbing. The tech is triggered, and it produces a hologram of another monster. Peter figures out that Mysterio has tricked him, and he realises that he has given Edith to Mysterio in error. Peter suspects that Mysterio has bugged his phone, so instead of using a payphone or someone else's phone, Peter decides to put on his black suit and hitch a ride to Berlin on a train to meet up with Fury in person. Meanwhile, Mysterio is rehearsing defeating another elemental monster. This one will be bigger than all the rest and will appear in London. When Mysterio defeats this monster, he expects to be crowned the saviour of the Earth and named the next Tony Stark. Fury picks Peter up at the train station. When Peter gets shown into an office at Interpol, he suspects that Fury is an illusion. The next follows an extended fight sequence in a virtual reality nightmare. It stops and starts, but ultimately ends with Peter getting run over by a train on the way to Holland. When in Holland, Peter calls Happy and he comes to collect him in a jet plane. After another discussion about how everyone misses Tony, Peter goes online with Happy's phone. Peter learns from Flash's vlogs that the school trip has been diverted to London. As the jet flies to London, Peter makes himself a new suit with the tech inside the plane. Fury and Agent Hill pick up another energy spike in London, so they head there too. These energy spikes are the result of Mysterio's team having a mobile EMP device in the back of a truck. In no time at all, Fury and his team are set up inside London's Shard building. Mysterio starts the show. With Peter's school friends trapped on a bus on Tower Bridge, it will be easy to kill them in the chaos, but they soon flee when the combined elemental monster shows up. Happy tries to pick the friends up in his jet, but the drones destroy it. Happy then leads the core friends into the Tower of London to avoid the drones, and they lock themselves inside the Crown Jewels vault. Spider-Man jumps behind the illusion and starts to destroy the drones, but there are hundreds of them. Mysterio turns the drones against Peter, yet he miraculously doesn't get killed by any of them. Also, the drone sent to kill Fury is destroyed when Agent Hill shoots it with a sniper rifle from the top of the Shard. Fury figured out Mysterio's plan following a coded message from Happy during a phone call. Peter finds where Mysterio is hiding and he tries to get the Edith glasses back. Using his now working Peter Tingle/Spider sense, he dodges all the drones in his way and beats Mysterio to the ground. When the final illusion fails, Mysterio dies, but I'm not actually sure what kills him. Was it a stray bullet from a drone? It's not Peter that kills him. Peter shuts off all the drones and the city and his friends are saved. Peter also gets a kiss from MJ. Back in New York, Peter gives MJ a ride through the city while swinging as Spider-Man. While you might think this is a stupid thing to do for a superhero wanting to keep his secret identity safe, it actually doesn't matter anymore, because a giant TV screen displays the latest news from the Daily Bugle. In the end credits scene, J.K. Simmons reprises his role as J. Jonah Jameson, and he shows everyone what must be another illusion created by Mysterio's associates. In this video, Mysterio claims that he saved the world from the elemental monster and Spider-Man is the real bad guy. Mysterio also announces that Spider-Man is really Peter Parker. issues. Exposition is handled poorly in this movie. The first demonstration of this is using the Midtown School News to explain the blip. And by the way, the blip, is that the best name they could think of? The second example of poor exposition is how we learn of Mysterio's true intentions. Mysterio drinks in a bar with his associates and explains everything we need to know about who they are and what they have done. This scene is so bad it is reminiscent of the explanations given at the end of Scooby-Doo cartoons. The whole concept of the school trip is poorly thought out. What is the purpose of the school trip? Why are there so few kids on it? Why are there kids from different age groups on the same trip? Why is there no predetermined itinerary? How could Aunt May afford to send Peter on a round trip across Europe anyway when she is seen asking for money to help people displaced by the blip, including herself? Speaking of May, the last we see of May in Spider-Man Homecoming is when she discovers that Peter is Spider-Man. There is a huge potential for drama in this discovery, and so Spider-Man Far From Home should obviously pick up where this previous movie left off. And we have to ignore Infinity War and Endgame because May wasn't in those movies. Unfortunately, Spider-Man Far From Home does nothing with this. When we first see May, she is standing on a stage next to Spider-Man, and she is totally okay with Peter being Spider-Man. What a waste. I thought the way this movie handled Peter's spider sense, or the Peter tingle, was terrible. In fact, it's been inconsistent in all of the movies so far. There wasn't time to introduce the concept of the spider sense in Captain America Civil War because Peter had a limited role, and that's fine. But in Homecoming, there's not any mention of a spider sense. This is contradicted in Infinity War when the hairs stand up on Peter's arm, which I thought was a very clever way to demonstrate the spider sense. And now, in Far From Home, the spider sense is referenced in the dialogue, but Peter doesn't know what it is, and it doesn't work most of the time, most notably when Peter gets run over by a train. And yet it's Peter's spider sense that saves him in the final showdown. In short, it's a complete mess. Despite the fact that Ned Leeds actually does marry Betty Brant in the comics, the way they got together on the plane is most unrealistic. Ned tells Peter that he and Betty have a lot in common. Oh really? Like what? It's another poorly thought out idea. And again, they conveniently split up at the end of the trip, so it's like it never happened anyway. Clearly this romance was just to give Ned something to do because he is no longer the man in the chair for Spider-Man like he was in the first movie. This is a shame because previously Ned was a comic relief character with a purpose. Now Ned is just comic relief. The problem with the Marvel Cinematic Universe being so big is that it has such a large pool of superheroes available to come and save the day. This makes it hard to believe that no one else is available to help Spider-Man against the elementals. What do you mean there are no superheroes available to stop this world-ending catastrophe? They're off-world? Then get them here! A Bifrost journey takes seconds, and Captain Marvel can travel faster than light, etc. This is a conversation that takes place in the movie, and it's hard to swallow now. Can you imagine how hard it's going to be to swallow when we're 5 or 6 movies into the next phase of the MCU? I have a major issue with all the elemental attacks being caused by drones. Even if the drones projected holograms that fooled everyone, and even if the drones fired bullets to cause similar destruction to what was actually caused, there is no way that people would not hear the drones flying around or fire weapons. Also, how are the drones supposed to manufacture lava or water? If the water was an illusion, why does Peter get hit by water and soaked when on the bridge in Venice? A drone could not have done this. And another thing, even if a hologram could fool a person watching it, it would not be able to fool a satellite or any other tech device with something as simple as X-ray or infrared mode. A satellite would instantly be able to tell that all that was happening on the ground is a bunch of drones. This movie portrays Nick Fury at his most mean. I think the writers were overcompensating for having reduced Fury to a comedy sidekick in Captain Marvel. And let's not mention the eye. It's hard to take Fury seriously anymore. What does Mysterio want? It seems that all he wants is to be known as the greatest superhero, but to what end? Does he want fame? Does he want money? Mysterio's plan is stupid because there will inevitably be a real situation that he will be called upon to resolve, that he won't be able to do anything about, so everyone is going to know he's a fake. Mysterio has this amazing holographic technology he can use to make money, and he also has access to Edith, so he could hold countries to ransom. Why is he wasting his time trying to wreck London? This guy is an idiot. And if Mysterio wants to be famous, why hasn't he given any thought to what he wants to be called? It was extremely lucky that he ended up with a cool name like Mysterio, because I would have called him Goldfish Baldhead. How did the drones get into the Earth's atmosphere from space without disintegrating at the point of re-entry? Would the drone Peter sends to kill Brad really shoot, bearing in mind there are innocent civilians and Peter himself on the coach? Unlikely. Would Peter be able to jump out of the coach, use web shooters on the drone and get back inside the coach without anyone else on the coach seeing? Unlikely. Is this whole sequence stupid? Most likely. Bearing in mind Peter has Edith at his disposal, why didn't he use it to help in the fight against the fire elemental? Peter didn't even bother to ask Edith if she had any ideas. If he had, Edith would have said straight away, "What elementals? All I can see is a bunch of drones flying around, the same drones that I have access to. Do you want me to disable them all now with a targeted EMP strike? Job done, let's go to Paris." If Peter is so concerned about his secret identity, why does he have a drink with Mysterio in a bar after they both defeat the fire monster? Peter has the same black suit on, and he's not even wearing a mask. And if this wasn't enough, Mysterio repeatedly calls him Peter Parker. How come Edith doesn't know that Mysterio is an ex-employee of Stark's when she does a retinal scan and biometric test in transferring command of the glasses to him? Surely Edith would run a check against all her databases. Why isn't Prague in lockdown after the apocalypse level event that happened there? When Peter and MJ take a walk, there are no police or TV crews on the street. There's hardly anyone else around. What happened to all the thousands of people attending the carnival? When Mysterio is rehearsing with the drones for the London show, how is he able to command the drones to aim their weapons at the very person operating the controls of the drones? Mysterio doesn't control the drones, the guy the drones are supposedly aiming at does. How did Mysterio's team get the EMP device that sits in the back of a truck all the way from Mexico to Venice to Prague and then to London without having it impounded by any customs officials? When Mysterio takes control of Edith, why doesn't he do the most obvious thing that he needs to do, which is to lock Peter out of Edith's protocols so Peter can't regain control? Review. Spider-Man Far From Home is not a particularly strong start to this latest phase of the Marvel Cinematic Universe. It's an okay movie, but nothing to shout about, and it's mostly let down by the writing. On the plus side, Tom Holland and Jake Gyllenhaal put in good performances, as does Zendaya. As expected, the effects are amazing and the cinematography is very good, especially during the fight scenes. The music is also very well orchestrated. My rating, 82%. Hi, this is Mike Kendall, and thanks for watching my video. I'd like to know what you thought of this movie. Was it a hit? Was it a flop? Let me know your thoughts and rating in the comments section. You can also tell me what other movies you'd like to see reviews for. Please like and subscribe, and remember to hit that notification bell for all my new videos. Sharing these videos on Facebook and Twitter would help me out a lot. I'd sure appreciate it. Don't forget to check out the other videos on my channel. We're adding more all the time. I'm off to see a movie. You have a great day, and I'll see you in the next video.